Okie dokie. We are live. How's it going? Welcome to Frenchy's Forge. I am currently sitting out here hanging out in my backyard inside of my 8x10 lawnmower shed, where I call this the knife making shop. And today I'm just hanging out, not really doing a whole lot. I thought I would get on here, throw the live stream on, check out the new horizontal live. That's kind of cool. I haven't done a whole lot of live streaming, mainly just a few. And it used to be where you had to have the phone vertical to do it. Well, now it's horizontal. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, I am just hanging out in my lawnmower shed and thought I would throw this on and say, hey, see who all hops in here. I am currently working on a little side project, and that side project is making a sheath for this camp knife that I just got through making. This is kind of a camp knife, just a classic drop point recurve style camp knife, and I've made several of these. This particular one I just got through making not too long ago, but it's pretty cool. It's made out of a farrier's rasp and got some different handle material going on. I think this is some sort of ironwood, and then some acrylic honeycomb stuff, and just kind of a cool handle. I also am noticing on here that I don't see any of the chat. So hold on one second. Chat viewing options. Live chat. Yes, let's do live chat. Welcome to live chat. Looks like I got one person in here. If you're in here, will you please say something? Will you say hi or something so I can see where it's popping up on the screen? The horizontal is new for me. I don't really know. I'm not a tech guy. I'm a blue collar type of guy. So technology is something I'm not super great at. There we go. What's up, Joey Robinson? Hello. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Now I can see that you have texted, and now I feel retarded, and luckily there's only Joey in here, so you get to see me look retarded, which is awesome. So now hopefully if other people come in here, they won't be like, why am I hanging out with this dude in his lawnmower shed who is retarded? Anyway, we'll just see if some more people hop on here. What are you up to tonight, Joey? You chilling like a villain? What do you got going on? What are some things that you like to do? Let me know in the comments below. Or it's not really below anymore. It just kind of popped up. Believe me, I have no idea about those. Yes. Okay, me neither. I don't know much about nothing. I'm really just kind of like a dude who likes to know a little bit about everything. I'm not a master really at anything. Although I have been making knives for maybe, let's see, a year and a half. So 2025 is almost, so a year and a half I've been making knives in my backyard in my lawnmower shed. Some of the knives that I make, big camp knives like this. This one's really cool because it's got a big beefy handle. It's something you can swing really aggressively and it stays in the back of your hand. Great for chopping branches, maybe batoning through logs and such. Let's see, I just recently started making knives in the last month, bought a grizzly. Dude, my dude, I'm telling you what, the grizzlies are pretty cool. In fact, I can swing the camera over this way for a second. You can see behind my stupid ring light, I got the same one. So yeah, the grizzly grinder, I feel like, is the perfect grinder for someone trying to get into the hobby. It really is, it almost owns that little niche in the market. There's not another grinder that I'm aware of for 300 bucks that gets you all the features that the Grizzly grinder gets you. Variable speed is major, especially the further you progress into knife making. It is so valuable to be able to slow down the belts and the speed of the belts. I've been watching you and really enjoy your content. Oh, right on, dude. Excuse me. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, right on, my guy. So, yeah, anyway, excuse me. The grinder, hey, what's up, Duck? How are you, man? I just saw some of your live streams the other day and saw that you were cranking out some hammers. And then I saw you post another one. I didn't catch it on, but I did watch you beat the crap out of a ton of hammers. That was pretty cool to watch. I'll be back if you're still alive. Well, thanks for saying hey, man. Yeah, Joey, if you don't know Duck, he's got a channel as well. Him and I met in another YouTube live chat channel, The Rivers Experience, and you may know about him, you may not. His name's Eric. He is a really good knife maker, and a lot like my videos, he has a lot of like teaching knife making. And so I honestly learned a lot of the different steps from watching his videos. So nothing that I really do is super original. It's all kind of just, you know, watching YouTube and kind of figuring it out on the journey. So yeah. Yeah, you have. Yeah, most people have. I don't think there's really a whole lot of super big knife making channels on YouTube. There's a handful of some really big ones. You know, it's just not as popular, I guess, as it used to be back when Forged in Fire was out and that sort of thing. But it is still a really cool hobby. Even after all this time of doing it, I still really enjoy it. Yeah, I just got done making making this one not too long ago. This was my first Damascus knife, and it turned out pretty good. You can still kind of see some of the mild steel from the welding wire in it, so that kind of stinks. But you know, for my very first one, I don't know, I think it's all right. Yeah, 5 years behind. That's that's probably about right for me too. I started, I think I posted my first knife making video July, I think it was July 4th of 2023, I believe. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. It honestly, it does look pretty good. You know, minus the flaws and whatnot up here where the welding wire is. But for my first one, I'll take it. It was definitely hard earned. Doing Damascus by hand is retarded. It takes so much time. In fact, I still have the other billet to this one. This was, I was going to turn this into like, you know, really high layer count, and the billet ended up splitting apart on me. So here's the other half that was meant to be in this blade. And when it split open, I was just like, nah, I'll probably make two knives instead of just one cool one. I'll make two semi-cool ones. How about that? So yeah. I'm also working on this blade. This is my most current one that I'm doing right now. It's a Damascus billet as well. This is not one that I forged. This is one that I got from another YouTuber. Getting a forge and getting into it pretty hard. You definitely should. Excuse me, I don't mean to be coughing so much. I also have a microphone, so that's new for me. I don't normally do microphones, so if I'm coughing right into it, I'm sorry. Just gonna have to deal with it, I guess. Maybe I can move it down. So anyway, yeah, so you can buy a forge. I bought mine on Amazon. I think I paid 89 bucks for it. It is a small little dude. In fact, it's over here in the corner. Yeah. So just a single burner, says Simon Store on the side of it, because how cool is that, right? Yeah, what's your forge, bro? Oh, it's a Simon Store, dog. It's the coolest one out there, man. No way, bro. You got the Simon Store forge too, man? It's pretty retarded, but you know. Anyway, single burner forge, 89 bucks, and it works plenty fine. In fact, one of the guys that I work with got a 3 burner forge, and it was his first forge. He's still only forged one knife, but you know, I think he paid like 300 or 400 bucks for it, which is great. And you know, it's just sitting in his garage. But my point being that you don't need some huge fancy thing to get started. A single burner forge really does pretty much most things. I did this knife back behind me, which is not really a knife, it's more like a short sword. But I did all of this in that little single burner forge to be a wrench, and kind of drew it out. And in the forge, you kind of have to do it in sections where you heat up one section and, you know, widen it out and then heat up the next section. So it's not as cool as throwing the whole thing in there and getting it all hot at once, but it can still be accomplished. That was a super fun build. I still really like this thing. It turned out really good. It's got a super comfortable handle on it, and it's just unique. You know, I haven't really seen a whole lot of other short swords or little sabers like this. This part's a little goofy, maybe, but, you know, I was like, well, what am I going to do with that material? I could cut it off, but I actually kind of like it. It's grown on me a little bit, kind of a knuckle bow, I guess. But yeah. So anyway, the single burner forge, you can pretty much do lots of different stuff. Damascus, that's no problem. I would recommend, if you're going to be forge welding in a little single burner forge, to try to coat the forge with some, I think it's called Satanite. It's just like a refractory cement, and that helps insulate the forge really good. Without it, you know, may not get as hot as you need it to. So I would recommend doing that. But, you know, that's really all you need. Honestly, the Grizzly grinder is perfect. And dinner time, I'll be back shortly. Sounds good, man. Thanks for stopping by. If I'm done before you get back, thanks for hanging out. But yeah, that's pretty much, you know, really all you need. A $80 forge. You could even get by with a Harbor Freight 1x30. I've got one sitting down there. So to start knife making, if you're wanting to start, those two things I feel like would be kind of must-haves. You don't even really need an anvil to start. I mean, it's great to have if you're wanting to forge blades. Then you definitely need something, a railroad track, or, you know, a Harbor Freight anvil. I have one out there. But yeah, forge, anvil, and a belt grinder, and some steel of some sort, which now you can pretty much find any steel that you want online. I did a lot of my very first knives like this out of rasps and coil springs, pretty much things that I could find, you know, laying around, or and find a bunch of these. One of the ladies that I work with, she gave me an absolute ton of these, and these make excellent knives. That's what this is made out of. It's pretty cool. Or you could even probably get, you know, 2 or even 3 littler knives out of one of these, which is cool. Or you could forge out a big knife. I'm still in the process of forging this one out, but you know, the material and the rasp, I mean, you know, the sky's the limit. You could push this material pretty much any which way and make all kinds of different blades with that. And that would be a great way to get started, in all honesty. You know, you don't need a whole lot. Anyway, so enough about that. Now I am going to finish something up. So like I said earlier, made this knife probably a month or two ago, and it's been hanging out here. I would love to sell this thing. I mean, I kind of don't want to because it's cool, but the last one that I made, which was the same profile, was one that I sold on our Etsy store. And the guy that bought it was a viewer. His name's Ruben, and he suggested that I make more of these and try to sell them. I think he likes the one that he got, and I think it would do really well, but I need to make a sheath for it. So that's what I'm going to be doing here this evening, is working on a sheath. Hopefully, if I can adjust this without knocking you off, you'll be able to see. I'm not an excellent shearer, and in all honesty, I haven't even really made, a whole lot. But I feel like I'm good enough to attempt one, and the few that I have made, they've turned out decent. They're not fancy. They don't have any tooling or super cool, like, belt clip attachments and different things. They're pretty bare bones and basic, but they work. So to get started with making a leather sheath, where do you start? Well, if you've never made one, then you can start by YouTubing a video, because that's what I did. I had no idea how to make one. And I found a really cool video on YouTube that was pretty basic, and it kind of went through the process of making it. I have stuck with making it. So the very first step is to get yourself some like folder paper, and I guess printer paper would also work. I like using the little bit thicker material. That way when you go to cut it out, it's a little more rigid and just holds up a little better. But to get started, you're going to need that. And then you're also obviously going to need some leather. I've got just a hunk of Vegetan leather, and this stuff is really good. I think this is, 8mm. Is that what they said? 7 to 8 or 9mm maybe. Can't quite remember. There we go, millimeters. Well, this says 4. Oh, maybe it's ounces. That's what it is. 7 to 8 ounce, not millimeters. So anyway, that is what I guess is the best for sheaths, because it's relatively thick. It actually measured about 3.5 to 4 millimeters, but they call it like 7 to 8 ounce leather. And it's got to be the Vegetan leather, because apparently the other style that's used for wallets and belts, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's like chrome tan or something. Anyway, that leather is not so great for metal because it will corrode the metal. So yeah, I try not to use that for my knives. I did, however, make one out of chrome tan leather, and I made it for this dagger, and it looks decent, I guess. It's got the little belt loop on the back, and it will definitely hold up. But what I do to get around the fact that it's chrome tan leather is on the inside, you can see that it hasn't eaten away at the blade or anything. But what I did on the inside was just put a few inserts of this loose paper in here. So, not the most professional build, but that's one thing you can do to get around the fact that you've got chrome leather on a metal blade. That's why the natural Vegetan leather, I think that's a good route to go. So, yes, back to doing the template. So the way that I was taught was to get a sheet of paper like this. Then we're going to need some sort of a ruler. I think I've got one back here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. And we're going to draw the center line pretty much right where the paper folds. And that way we've got a good visual for the center line. And then the best way to do it is to take your knife and you place it kind of on, the spine, and you put it where you want it in terms of how deep it's going to go down. So for this particular knife, we're going to want the top of the leather sheath to be maybe somewhere around here. Maybe a little higher, maybe something like that. That way when you go to grab it out of the sheath, you can grab onto this large part back here to pull it out. So that's important. You want to figure out how deep you want the knife to go into the sheath to start. And for this particular knife, we're going to do probably something like this. And then once you've got it lined up on the paper, let me try to scoot it in a little bit. That way you can see a little better. Hopefully you can see a little better. And so yeah, so once you've got it pretty much set up on the line like this, what we're going to do is turn the knife over to the side like this. And then we're going to account for the thickness of the leather. So the guy that I learned from basically said just to scooch it over the thickness of the leather. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much just trace the profile of the blade. So something like this. And we can even do, I guess, the handle. I don't think that that's necessary. It's mainly just the blade part. And then we'll flip it back up, put it back on the middle, and do the other side. Actually, no, we won't. We'll just do this one side. That's right. You pretty much just do one side. And then that way, when you're done, you can fold it in half and cut off of this so that they're symmetrical. I haven't made one in a while, so yeah. Forgot that important step. Anyway, once you've got the first one, or this side traced out, then what we're going to do is we're going to add some space in between where the blade's at, and we're going to add, I think the guy that I watched said something like 10 millimeters maybe is what he does. So let's look and see where 10 millimeters is. That's about there. So it's really not a whole lot of space, just a little bit extra. And what we'll do is we'll mark kind of where 10 millimeters is every so often against the profile of the blade. So we'll just kind of do some little dots for now. And then later, once we get the dots put in, we can go back and connect all the dots to get the proper line of the sheath. And I guess the main point of putting in this extra space is to allow the handle and the blade to have some room to fit in there, especially for a handle like this, which is pretty thick and beefy. What we can do once we get up to this part is we're actually going to measure the width of the handle, and we're going to add that to this principle, if that makes sense. So we'll just keep going here with our little dots. All the way until we get up to the end of the cutting edge or the blade portion. And then we're going to stop. Now we're going to kind of just lightly trace from dot to dot, and that'll give us a pretty rough idea of where the edge of the sheath is going to come in. And the drawing doesn't have to be perfect, but what does have to be good is when we go to cut it out, it has to be, you know, somewhat in line, or else it'll look a little janky, and we don't want that. We don't want it to be janky because, you know, that would not be super great. Excuse me. So, yeah. So now that we've made it to this part here, I kind of forget exactly what to do. I think this is the part where we measure the width of the handle material, and especially this one's got a massive, not massive, but pretty decent sized swell going this way as well as this way, so it's going to eat up a lot more material in the leather to be able to fit this into the leather, if that makes sense. So we're going to want to add quite a bit of width to what we would normally add if the handle wasn't there. So what we can do is we can get a measurement on how wide the handle is. And in its widest spot, it is 30 millimeters. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing. It's pretty much continue to trace out the dots around here like we did, but we're now going to add this 30 millimeters to the area where the handle is going to be. And that's going to help give us enough material to allow the handle to fit in. So there we go. Now we kind of at least know, you know, where the sheath needs to be for this sucker to fit in here. Let me turn it around this way. You might be able to see it better, or maybe not. Let me see if I can tilt this down a little more. Come on now. Did that help at all? Hopefully it did. Get it down a little lower. Maybe you can see it a little better. Yeah, that's a little better at least. Yeah, so now we have pretty much the profile of the blade here, and then we get closer up here to where the handle's going to be. Well, we're going to need to make this part of the sheath wider so that it will allow the handle to go in. And this is the part where you can kind of get creative, I guess, with the design, especially for the opening. You don't have to necessarily have a flat into it. And so I think we'll probably just add a little bit of a curve like this. And then we're going to come back over here and connect all these little dots. Something like that. So there we go. Now we pretty much have a template, at least half of the template for the sheath. And then what we can do is we can grab our scissors and cut the sucker out and see if it fits in there. So we're going to do that, and we're going to hope that it fits in there, because I've done this several times. I've made a few of these, and sometimes the first go is just a little bit too tight. So we may end up, we might have to redo this. I don't know yet, but we're going to cut it and see. And I think for now we'll probably cut it a little bit bigger, and we'll see if we have enough space, which I'm hoping we will. It is a pretty large knife, that's for sure. And it's not one that you would really want to carry around camping without some sort of a sheath. So yeah, there's that. Definitely needs a sheath. And it's going to be a pretty big sheath. I mean, goodness gracious, that is large. So now that we've got it cut out, what we're going to do is stick it back in here. We're going to just kind of test it around the blade. We're going to get a look to see if we've got enough paper left over here. And it looks like, for the most part, I think we're good. And what's cool about doing it this way is it still allows you to visually see the curve in the sheath, which will match the curve in the blade. And that way you don't have a square sheath and a rectangle blade, or, opposite shapes. They can still kind of somewhat match one another. And it'll look, like the sheath was made for the knife, which it is. So that's a good thing. All right, so I think that, in all honesty, looks pretty good. It might be, I'd say, maybe a little bit bigger than it needs to be down here. This area here is for the welt, I believe is what it's called. And that's just a little strip of leather that you add to the outside against the cutting edge. And that way, when you go to sheathe your knife, it doesn't cut through the stitching that you do. So it just pretty much protects the stitches. And adding the welt will also give the sheath a little bit of height, which is okay, especially for a bigger knife like this. We want to add a little bit of height because we're going to want this to be a good snug fit and also have plenty of room to get it in and out. Like, we want it to go in good and easy, but still not really wiggle around much in there, if that makes sense. So there we go. That is pretty good. I would say that for this top part here, we have a little bit of room to manipulate the sheath a little bit if we wanted to, because I think currently, as it sits, we probably have more material than we need. So what I like to do is just throw it in here, and we'll pinch, maybe that 10 millimeters or so, and then we'll pull it out and see if we have enough room. And we definitely do. Like I said, this could be a little bit further over this way even, and I think it would still go in there. So now it just kind of comes down to the profile of the sheath and, just kind of tweaking that a little bit. So I think what we'll do is we'll cut out this little curve on the top, kind of like that idea. That way it's got a little bit of character to the top of it. And then I think we'll also, let's see, I could probably shave quite a bit, as I think there's plenty of material here. And might do something like adding a little bit of a curve in this area as well. And this is mainly just for looks, so that it's not all, flat. It's kind of got at least some curves and lines. And I think overall that should help this, the look of this when it's all said and done. So there we go. I think for the most part, this template should be a success. Probably trim a little bit of this stuff off of here. Yeah, because once we have the knife in here and it goes all the way down to the bottom, it'll hit the welt about here. So right about there. And that will leave that much of the knife sticking out, which is probably going to be perfect. It'll be just enough to grab this and be able to pull it out. So boom, there you go. Now we got one leather template made for this knife. And this is something I'll probably hold on to, as I'm sure I'll be making more of these particular styles of blades. So yeah, if you're in here, say hey. What's up with you guys? Let me bring it back up here and say hello to y'all. What is up, fine people? Who all's in here? I see a couple people in here. Say hello. Tell me what your name is. What are you up to this wonderful Sunday evening? Are you guys in your lawnmower sheds making sheaths, or are you doing something else? Let me know. They're like, nope, we're out of here. A couple people just dipped. They're like, nah, no, we're not talking to this guy. He's weird. He's a weirdo in his backyard in his lawnmower shed. Mama said, don't talk to strangers. So, yeah, anyway, that's about a wrap on this, I suppose. Now we know how to make a template for a leather sheath. And hopefully this video was helpful. And I guess they lives post onto your page after the live, I'm pretty sure. I don't really think I have to do anything. I think it just posts onto the page. So if you ever need to make a leather sheath for a knife, you can come back, and this video will at least help you get started in making the template. And really, there's a few more steps after this, like cutting out the leather, cutting out the welt. You know, maybe I could make another part to this video and talk about some of the different steps for making, finishing out the sheath. But it's pretty easy, honestly, unless you're doing like really cool sheaths. Then, you know, you can put a lot more time and effort into them. I do pretty bare bones basic sheaths. Just as long as it holds the knife and it has a belt loop, I pretty much call it good for the most part. So anyway, yeah. Thank you guys very much for hanging out. I don't see a whole lot of people in here, but if you're in here and you're listening, I really appreciate you guys coming to say hey and hanging out with me for a little bit. It's pretty cold out here in the lawnmower sheds, so we'll probably wrap it up, and we'll catch you guys next time. Yeah. Thanks for hanging, guys. See you later. Damn. Duck Rabbit says damn. He's back just in time for the show to end. It really wasn't a great show. I just kind of sat here and rambled on like I normally do, so you really didn't miss much. Just kind of hung out and talked to maybe 2 or 3 people that popped in and cut out this little template for a leather sheath. So you didn't miss a whole lot, Duck. You got to do some vertical lives. That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's because I'm on horizontal. I wanted to try it out because, you know, it's just like, man, I got to try this out. I want to know what it's about. Yeah, I noticed that, dude. I was on your thing and saw that you blew up on some of those live streams, which is awesome. That is insane. And I'm happy for you, man. You deserve it. You do lots of cool stuff, mostly from vertical lives. There you go. So maybe it's this old grandma, I gotta have horizontal. I'm not watching those young hipsters on vertical. I won't do it. I'm going horizontal. Maybe that's why I had the old grandmas in my videos here. I don't know. I'll try vertical next time. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for the info, Duck. Appreciate you, man. And to the rest of the people in here or watching this, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day and a happy new year. Look forward to hanging out next time around. Peace. Bye. Bye. Have a beautiful time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Are they gone? turn this thing off. Are they gone? Aha.